All right, once again, good morning. This is supposed to be the last class of this training session. Tips to close a sale quickly and effectively. Yesterday, we talked about closing and different tips or skills, or ways to close, to close a deal. Like I said yesterday during the training, no, 2 days ago, we didn't have it yesterday during the training, I mentioned that of the two most important, cycle to real estate sales, which I mentioned as prospecting and closing. Closing seems to me to be the most important because all efforts eventually is determined by, the closing. If prospectings are well done, and all the processes are well followed, if one does not have a good closing skill or closing technique, you can end up having efforts without results. So you will have a lot of efforts, but no results to show for it. And that's why it's important to give a very good attention to issue of closing a sale. As important as it is something that can be learned. And when it is learned, it's something that makes a difference between you and other real estate personnel outside there. So let's quickly go on this morning. Tips to close a sale quickly and effectively. Create a sense of urgency. I just listed a couple of stuffs that we're going to be working with this morning. Create a sense of urgency. So the first thing to do, when wanting to close a sale, is to create a sense of urgency in the person. Now, come in, please. Oh. Sorry. Okay. Offer your prospects something time sensitive and they actually want. This may incentivize them to commit to you sooner rather than later. Don't confuse the sales tactic with rushing your prospect. There's a huge difference between creating a sense of urgency and then rushing prospects. It's two different things. The last thing you want to do is to pressure them into saying a firm no. You don't want to give them pressures that will make them to say no, and that's no. So instead of that, you provide them with another reason why your product is the right choice for them and is the right choice right now. One of the ways to create a sense of urgency is to make them see what they are likely to gain if they are buying at the moment. Some time ago, my church wants to acquire a particular property, land, and then the person who was directly involved, agents, linked us with 2-3 different agents. Eventually, we landed at the table of the family lawyer, a lawyer of the family that owns the land. And while we're talking, the lawyer made us to see how that there are about 5 persons who are on these lands at the moment. And if we don't buy it now, if we don't make a commitment now, tomorrow will be too late for us. What he was trying to do by that is to give us a sense of urgency so we can commit ourselves almost immediately. Oftentimes, people do that very well. They give. So one of the best ways you can basically close, a sale, one of the tips to closing a sale is create a sense of urgency. You don't have to lie. But give them parameters, give them reasons why is the right decision to make, and it's the best time to make it at that moment. It's very, very important, actually. Then overcome their objections. You must learn to overcome their objections. They will have different objections for why they shouldn't buy it, but you have to help them buy it. Along the path to closing any sale, you are going to field difficult questions. You're going to face difficult questions, objections to certain features, push back on pricing, and any number of other sales objections. To prepare yourself for every major sales objection in your space, start by building a list of all the most common objections you are facing. One of the ways to overcome objections, in selling is that you look at what are the objections people have faced you with before now. What are the questions people have asked you? What are the common questions people have asked you? And how have you been able to relate with those questions? It's very important. Yesterday, I had a call with a prospect, and we spoke for almost 12, 15 minutes on phone. He was asking all kinds of questions, and I kept answering all his questions. After I finished asking him, I asked him, do you still have any other question? He said, no. So you must be able to overcome all their objections. So while doing that, write down concise answers to them, concise answers to each of the objections you have faced in the past. Get feedback and more hints from your real estate team leaders until you feel strong enough to walk into any conversation with them. And rehearse the responses until you know them by heart. You don't have to read them from the books you have written them. So like I was saying, you need concise answers, concise responses for each of the objections that people bring to you. Concise responses are very important. Don't make your responses vague. Don't make it don't make it foggy. Let it be clear and concise. For each of the responses you are giving, don't give an either-or response. Give something concise. For this is what we do to cater this. Somebody asked me some time ago, how do you deal with omonile issue over your lands? I was like, omonile. That's the last thing we want to think about. We want to have trouble with, because we have structures in place. If any, there was a time when one of our lands in Laduba, in Bala, some people have to sleep in the soldiers' guard just because they trespassed, not even because they harassed us. They just trespassed. So having a concise answer, to them also as a way to solidify their trust. You are dealing with people's mind, and so you must be wise enough to gain entrances that you need. Then ask for the sale and nail your closing questions. Ask for the sale and nail your closing questions. Perfecting now, and when you ask the question, are you ready to buy? Is at the core of how to close a deal in sales. And yes, you need to get comfortable asking it. As I've said before, the biggest mistake salespeople and founders can make is not asking for a sale. If you've done your job qualifying your prospect, delivering your pitch, and still believe they'll be a good fit for using your product, ask for the sale. Ask. Don't be afraid. Nail your closing questions. So are you ready to buy now? So can we go on to close this deal now? So can I schedule an inspection with you? Expect an initial no from most prospects, or build this into your selling process. You will often catch a prospect off guard, and they won't immediately have a clear reason not to buy when you are both on the same page about the value they are getting. So it's very important. I mentioned before that most salesperson and founders make a very big mistake, and that mistake is they don't ask people for sale. They can do prospecting, do all that, then thank you very much, we're expecting you, they move on. No, you don't do that. You don't do that. In sale, you ask questions, you ask for sale, you nail it. Some useful sales closing basics or tasks coming. phrases, questions and techniques. Feeling confident that you are about to make the sale. Below are some sales closing phrases to use, whether you are on a sales call, at an in-person sales meeting, or negotiation over a chat, to help get you a final fair yes from a prospect that's on the fence. I have to gather these questions as closing phrases. I gather them as closing phrases that personally, I've been using and it has been working. And I believe that it can still work, if you also will adopt it. So you'll see a list of stuff, in the next slide. Okay, unless you have further concerns, I think we can get started with concluding the deal. When you say things like that, unless you have further concerns, I think we can get started with closing the deal, concluding the deal. Okay, the client can tell you, I still have some concern. Okay, may I have them? That will help you to know what level of prospect they have, how far you have prospect, how far you are to the closing. So when you say things like, unless you have further concerns, sir, I think we can get started with concluding this deal. I said, okay. What are the steps to concluding the deal? Then you know that that's a closing, that's a done deal already. That's a done deal already. And the next one is, please take as long as you like. But if you're ready, perhaps we should move along to the agreement right away. Please take as long time as you like. You have opened it. But if you're ready, perhaps we should move along to the agreement right away. Imagine you chatting with somebody, over a property, and you have discussed, in detail. And then you said, well done, thank you very much, sir. Please take as long as you like, as long time as you like. But if you're ready, perhaps we should move along to the agreement. The response will show you how ready he is or she is. And things like, are you ready to take the advantage of this great deal now? So are you ready to take advantage of this great deal? If he says yes, then you lead him straight to making payments. If he says no, okay, Sam, may I know one or two concerns you have? Why you don't want to take advantage of this grading now? You can use that to get, his concerns, his fears, and then target your answers towards his fears and towards answering his questions. Then the next one is, it seems like this solution would work for you. I understand you need a bit more time. Let's schedule a meeting for next week when you've had some more time to think about this. By that, you are not pressurizing him. You are taking it gently, but then you're also being deliberate about it. Let's schedule a meeting for next week. By the time he's coming for the meeting next week, he's prepared. A day before then, you can remind him, of the meeting. If you could come to the meeting, you have a up to 65% chance of winning that deal. And the next one is, it's fine that you can't commit today. Unfortunately, this particular offer is only available for maybe till the 20th of this month. So I will need a signed contract by date, by maybe 20th, to maintain this price. So by that, you can commit in. You can say things like, okay, it's fine that you can't commit yourself today. Unfortunately, this particular offer is only available for maybe between now and 20th of December. So I will need a signed contract, by possibly 19th or latest 20th of December to be sure we are maintaining this same price. For instance, let me give you a practical instance of this. Currently, POREC is selling 10% discount off on two of our locations, that Laduba and Shaoland. And on those two lands, we are saying 10%. That means 450,000 land has become 405. Between now and 20th of December. Imagine you meet a client and tell him, you discuss with him, you've talked and all that, and said, I cannot commit myself today. And you know that most people are being paid. towards the 20th thereabout of December. You can say things like, okay, it's fine that you can't commit yourself today. Unfortunately, this particular offer is only available till the 20th of December. However, so I would need a signed contract by latest 19th to maintain this price for you, knowing that if you don't sign that contract before 20th, by 21, you might still have to buy the same land some other time for 450 or more. So he wants to gain that 45,000 naira, that 10% discount. Most often, most of the time, you get a yes after that. You get a yes after that. The other one is, are there any obstacles that could prevent this deal from happening? You are opening the question up. So are there any obstacles that could prevent this deal from happening? Another one is, based on what we've discussed, do you think our solution is a good fit for your needs, and why? Either it says yes or no. You ask it why. Do you feel ready to move forward? I can send over the contract right now. If I was able to throw in incentive, would you consider committing today? If I give you like maybe instead of 10% discount, I give you like 12% discount. Of course, I'm calculating as an affiliate, and that's one of the things you can do as an affiliate. You have 10% discount, but you know that, if you give somebody 2% out of your 10%, he might eventually buy. You can raise its percentage to 12% discount. The land has 10% discount. You have 10% commission on the sale. And you are agreeing that, okay, maybe out of my own sale, I'll just add the 2% to it. So, sir, can we do 12%? So if I was able to throw in incentive, would you consider, if I'm able to give you maybe 2% extra percentage discount, will you commit yourself today? And taking everything into consideration, I think one of these two plans would work best for you. Would you like to go with option A? I talked about optional close yesterday, 2 days ago. Option A or B, option X or Y. If you could find a way to deal with objection, would you be ready to make this deal happen next week? If you could find a way to deal with all the objections, would you be ready to make this deal happen next week? That's very important. The next one is, what do you think a good next step would be to solve your current problems, sir? He has given a lot of troubles, a lot of questions. What do you think a good next step would be to solve your current problems? Then next, unless you have any more questions or concerns, I think we're ready to get started. Based on what you've said, it seems like our product is a good fit for you today. What do you think? You ask assertive questions. If you can commit to buying today, I can also give you social incentive. What are all the steps we have to take to help make this deal happen? What do you think a good next step would be to solve your current problem? So all those things are, phrases, questions and phrases that we use to close this. Let me give you a final thought on using these sales closing techniques. That would be of a final thought on using these sales closing techniques. The best way is to put these effective sales closing techniques into practice by trying them out. Don't keep these things without trying them. When you are trying them, you are getting better in them. You want to carefully choose your interaction style based on the individual qualities of your prospects. Never fail to remember that you are dealing with real humans, not robots. The less they feel like a generic lead follow-up, the more likely you are to land the sale. So always bring certain persons. That's why I say we should do prospecting lists. Bring a person out of the generic lead follow-up, into a kind of prospects that you can have a further relationship with and build enough trust to close your deal. One of the most underappreciated and often subconscious aspect of closing deal is carefully choosing your interaction style with your prospect. You need to know your prospect and know the kind of interaction style that will sell to them. Do you get that? So let's quickly talk through 4 of these sales interaction styles, and then we'll go. Hostile plus strong. Some people are hostile and they are strong. This strong arm selling style is all about doing and saying whatever you need to just to get a prospect to buy your product. regardless of whether or not they stand to actually benefit. You are hostile and you are strong. You are selfish about it. It's a way, it's one of the tips. They're friendly and strong. I like this. Be on prospects team and have the mentality that you are here to help them with the best possible solution to their problems. When you believe your product is the best solution, you hold steady on your recommendation and don't cave into throwing out discounts right and left. But if your product isn't the best fit, you'll help guide them in the right direction. Choosing to embrace a friendly and strong selling style will help you build stronger connections with your prospects in the long run. So in this style helps you to sell yourself rather than selling your products first. You have sold yourself out to them before selling your product. So if they can buy you, they can trust you, they can trust your product also. Hostile and weak. The worst selling style that combines negative energy and mentality with the willingness to go in whichever direction the wind is blowing that day. So opposite to say this isn't the approach you want to take when you are trying to close a sale. So I don't advise anybody to use this. It's hostile and it's weak. It's hostile and it's weak. The last one is friendly and weak. With this selling style, you get a couple of points for being friendly, but at the end of the day, you run the risk of being thought of as too nice, even as pushover. So have the conviction to conveniently ask for the sale when it's time, and don't make major sacrifices just to take the customer on. Don't be weak. Don't be weak. Be friendly or be strong. So of all these, I think the best is number 2, friendly and strong. Friendly and strong. Be friendly, but be strong. Be very important. So thank you very much for following through up to this, this session. We've gone a long way, and I believe we've been helped, a long way too. I will lead us to the next process, just after this. So we'll communicate further on the page. I want to appreciate all of you who followed up, up to this time. It's not been funny, but it's been a whole lot. Thank you very much. We trust that it's going to be a successful time, for us. I hope we have gained 1 or 2 things, become better than we were before we started this class. We'll start practical, prospecting and closing deal as soon as tomorrow, by God's grace. Thank you very much once again. Thank you, Mr. Onolapo, for joining. I appreciate your presence again today. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir.
Welcome, sir.